Hey guys, this is Lyconis. You're on Cash Respawn. Today we're going to talk about something that is still really controversial in the gaming industry and industry at large, and that is pre-ordering. Today we're going to hit on the pros, the cons, and the history of it. Not necessarily in that order. Joining me today is, of course, my counterpart, Vetros.
Hello.
And my main thing is I view pre-ordering as bad. Just overall for the gamer because it encourages cash grabs. Everybody hates cash grabs. Okay, it's prevalent in crowdfunding. It's really, really something you have to be careful of. Whether pre-ordering the latest so-called blockbuster AAA title from EA, Activision Blizzard, Anthem, or just making an informed purchasing decision for a game you think you might like, you look really, really stoked for. Pre-ordering is bad. I'm just going to go out and say it now. Before, it was something to guarantee your copy back in the days, you know, I'm going to show my gamer grandpa ways of like Call of Duty, the first two Call of Duties, Grand Theft Auto, Halo 2, that type of shit, because I remember going into GameStop and it's like they were sold out of Halo 2 for like 2-3 weeks. And I laughed at all my other friends because they were all hyped up about Halo 2. I didn't care. I was like, I'll play it when I play it.
Yeah, and I'm actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. I know way back in the day, like I can guarantee you that the person who initially thought about pre-ordering wasn't some market managing genius. Like I'm almost positive it was probably retail stores calling back to the developer saying, "Hey, we don't have enough copies of this. We need more." And eh, I don't know. That's my opinion to it. Working as someone who worked in you know the retail aspect of things. I did retail for multiple years, working in and around video games constantly. That was the area that I worked in. It's something that like there is a large foundation of people who actually do pre-order things, and they do it for a good reason. They want to make sure they have that game day one in their hand. What ended up ruining it was a lot of companies trying to get significant signing bonuses and shit like that inside of there, popping up with the, oh, get your pre-order bonus when you buy at GameStop. Yes, I'm calling GameStop out in particular because fuck them in all honesty.
Honestly, I agree with you as a former GameStop employee. Hated my time there.
I
Hated
don't
my
blame you.
time there.
I tried, they wouldn't take me. It's probably for good reason.
So I can tell you from being on the inside at GameStop, okay, we were encouraged to push pre-orders religiously. Like you had to get a certain number of pre-orders or they would actually call you in and cancel with you. And it was when it was released the knowledge of this type of practice where they were basically, putting the loaded gun of a pink slip to an employee's head and saying, you're going to get these pre-orders, you're going to get these other things that you need to hit your targets or whatever, we're going to fire you. That's fine with retailers. Gamers are the most fickle motherfuckers on the planet. We are picky. We are the first ones to jump on forums, Reddit, or any other rating site, and as far as review bombs go, we are the first ones to jump on that friggin' bandwagon. And we will go full bore, pissed off, like a Scorpio plotting the death of somebody who took the last fucking Danish. Bad.
Yeah, I mean, I actually I just looked something up right now. Where you were talking a little bit inside of here, and you mentioned Halo 2, and I specifically wanted to look up the Halo 2 pre-order bonus inside of it just to see what I could find. And this is actually I'm actually quite surprised because I was expecting worse than this. But this is an article from Eurogamer, so this is the PAL edition of Halo 2 for the Xbox. July 13th of 2004 was when this article was written. So the long-awaited Halo 2 is now available for pre-order, and it includes the following: special content DVD and disc, it's 2 discs of special content, behind the scenes and the making of, making the game a 6 video for. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that word. Visual of the
Featurettes.
Thank you. Visualizing the stories, concept art, early leads, scripting of the game, so on and so forth. Bonus material, which is all sorts of just inside Bungie and stuff like that inside there, and comes in a specialized tin box. None of these actually had a an in-game, downloadable piece of shit that you could get. And I remember vividly there was one game in particular, and I won't name names of who exactly it was, but I remember there was a game in particular. I want to say it was The Witcher 2. I could be wrong on this one, but I want to say it was no. I'm sorry, it's not. It was Dragon Age. It was one of the Dragon Age games. One of the Dragon Age games, the GameStop exclusive DLC inside of it came with a weapon for the game that essentially allowed you to turn on God mode.
I remember that. I also remember with because EA does all sorts of crazy pre-order shenanigans, man, that annoy me. Like Dead Space 3, one of the cool ones, but also one of the like, what the fuck, really? Was the crossover between that and like Dragon Age armor, but it was Isaac's suit, and I think they did it with Dragon Age.
Yes,
It was
they
just
did.
kind of one of those things. It was like completely out of left field. But getting back to the core topic, pre-order bonuses, back then was like, oh hey, you get like a collectible tin, you get something that's worth your money. And here's where a lot of people are about to laugh their ever-loving asses off at me, because I pre-ordered Alien Colonials Marines. I am probably
Oh my
one
god,
of
I'm
the
so sorry.
yeah, I am probably one of the few people who pre-ordered that game. But I can tell you this: the pre-order bonus was better than the game itself.
Like, I
Because I
know.
got this totally awesome Marine and a power loader fighting aliens off on the statue. And I don't give a shit what the quality of the statue is. The point is, I got it sitting on my shelf, and it's a piece of the aliens universe. And I have a Colonial Marine patch, with the stars and stuff on it. It always reminded me of the Atari logo for some reason. But but I got that too, and I got all this cool stuff with it. And what's funny is it wasn't much more expensive than the base game, and you get all that cool stuff. And I was like, well, why the fuck not? That's when they tricked me into pre-ordering, and it was actually just a shit game. It was Left 4 Dead with aliens,
Hey, don't you
more
dare
or less.
disrespect Left 4 Dead like that. That
Um,
game was a
it
buggy
is what it
piece of
is.
shit. No. That game was fucking garbage. Game was garbage on hard. Like that. I remember the controversy about that game
Yeah.
when people were putting up YouTube videos and talking about this is what the trailer was, this is what the actual game looks like, and it was leaps and bounds different. I mean, and again, I might be incorrect here and showing a little bit of bias in this kind of situation because the game was absolute shit, 100%, and it's pretty commonly well known knowledge nowadays that it's pretty much dead and garbage. But I I want to say there was someone, it might have been Jim Sterling, it may have not, that was relating the game to PlayStation 2 quality graphics. And if I'm not mistaken, this game came out in like 2014.
Yeah. But okay, so the pros of pre-ordering is like, hey, you guarantee your copy, right? And that's nice. We've moved past that age of pre-ordering, and as much as the big companies, your big AAA developers and other stuff are like, oh hey man, pre-order this, you get this scanner, you get this. Okay, that's cool. And I understand why the need for the metric of pre-ordering. So, you have the right amount of copies on hand to the retailers that are biggest with the pre-orders. So it's like, okay, we know these copies are going out pretty much guaranteed. They might have, we'll say, a ballpark figure of 10% of people not pick up their pre-orders. Okay, that's cool. Then, the retailers like GameStop, Best Buy, anybody who does pre-orders, they can put that product out to the people there. It's like, oh, we don't have any more. Well, they ain't come pick up a pre-order in, like 2 weeks. Okay, yeah, we have some. That has basically been Thanos snapped because of digital pre-orders. Digital pre-orders have basically atomic bombed the pre-order industry, and that's why you see all these crazy, Anthem's an example. Very controversial one, but it's an example. Hey, you get the
Fallout 76.
yeah, that too. With the fucking canvas bag, motherfuckers.
I thought you were gonna bring it up.
Oh my god, dude, I cannot think about it without the stupid camera. Anyway, the big companies that are notorious offenders for pre-order bonuses and Only one of them right now is accused of bait and switch, and that's Bethesda right now with the Canvas bag, which rightly so. You promise something, you need to deliver it. Oh, it's too expensive. Well, that's your fault for claiming it, not ours. Okay? You were at that point, when you do that, that's kind of like, Ford saying, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, we're going to give you this awesome badass supercar that you go and you buy like a Ford GT, right? And then inside of the engine, it's like, oh, well, we couldn't afford the motor, so they give you a motor from a fucking Prius. Okay, that's two very different cases, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, see, the funny part about this is it's not actually just Bethesda, and that's something that I think we'll touch on a little bit more later on. But I guess this is probably the best transition we can get. But when does pre-ordering turn into the autonomous DLC or enclosed beta pre-ordering as we get nowadays? The early access that you find on Steam and games that you have to pay $35 to play inside their beta for an unreleased game or a partially released game. We can touch on names. We've got stuff like H1Z1. You've got
Ark.
PUBG, Ark. All of these games are still not in their full release status. None of these games are fully developed and at the point of saying, hey, we are now able to sell this reasonably. They've rode this coattail of the whole, oh, we're not done yet, it's still a beta. When the fuck is beta ending? Like, Ark has been out for what, since 2012, 2013?
Years, and it still
Yeah.
looks better than Aliens Colonial Marines. But going forward with that, the early access and stuff. Okay, yeah, you pay your 30 games. That's technically not a pre-order. That's early access, and that is something we could save for an entire segment on early release, and especially with that being a huge hot topic in the industry. Because once again, thank you EA, fucking Anthem. Okay,
No,
Anthem is the most current offender of that.
I no, I honestly, well, current offender, yes, I'll say that it's the most current offender, but they're definitely not the most egregious by any stretch of the means.
No, but they're the biggest name AAA title that I can think of right
Yeah, that's
off the
fair.
top of my head.
That's fair.
So, with that being said, your early accesses and all that other stuff, sometimes it's good if the company behind it actually gets, their management and everything on the same page and gets it together. A good case of early access is Subnautica. Very good game. And also gives me nightmares that only Echo the Dolphin could touch because of some of the areas in the game. Yeah, there's a special place in hell for the people who got it right in Subnautica, right next to Echo the Dolphin, with the nightmares that one caused in my young mind as a kid.
Jesus.
But the case of doing it wrong, a lot of people
Maybe
were...
there's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I don't even want to touch, on Star Citizen, because that is, oh my god, I could write content about that for 6 years and not touch the base of it.
Yeah, I'm honestly like and I guess I'll plug inside of here a little bit. The best person I've seen ever sum up the Star Citizen fiasco was Fred Nugson, something along those lines. He hosts a show on YouTube called Down the Rabbit Hole. I highly recommend watching that.
I'll take a look after this.
He's got amazing content just about random things. But one of the big ones that he did on there was Star Citizen, and he covers it in massive depth, like to the point of discussing all the rumors and bait and switch issues and the failed demos, the working demos, and everything else on top of it. And it's probably about 45 minutes long, I think, somewhere around there. It's a long ass documentary.
Yeah, I will definitely take a look at that, because there's other games that went to early access beta, and it's like, we're going to go 1.0. Another example of it was MechWarrior Online, kind of a niche title, but if you're a BattleTech MechWarrior fan, you obviously know the problems behind the game that the community dealt with, and the pieces that came together and are still felt by the community. It even got so bad, I believe one of the devs termed those players islanders, because he's like, yeah, those people are on an island, they don't know what they want. Something to that tune, and yeah, that's a great way to piss off your player base. Ark did the same thing and pissed off their player base because it was what, $30 early access, something like that.
30,
And then
30
it
bucks,
got
something like that, yeah.
yeah, and then it got blown to full price release of $60 for the game, and it's still not done.
Fortunately, we have stuff like Humble Bundle. I got mine for free.
Thank God.
I still have never touched the game though. I've not ever once played that game, not logged into it, not installed it, anything, but I have it. Just to say I have it.
I love taming an army of dodos and then sending them at a player base, so they're like, what the fuck? But that's just me being crazy. Or the other ones, they're really hard to tame. They're Troodons, and when they bite you, they can put you to sleep. So I used to build false walls in that game, and they'd bust into the false wall looking for easy loot and stuff. They get swarmed by a pack of Troodons that would keep biting them, keep them asleep, and then I would throw them into a jail cell and feed them poop.
Oh, they're just tiny little fucking raptors. I had to Google. I've never seen anything in Ark before.
Ah, okay. But going to the early access, there's other early access titles, and there's so many to name with good and bad. Dreadnought's another early access title that's kind of floundering. Dauntless, you don't hear too much good, too much bad. It's kind of different, so it's kind of holding its own. God, what else?
Dauntless, unfortunately, just came across as the press release and timing issue. They tried to come out at the same time that Monster Hunter World came out, and it's just kind of didn't end up well for them.
Yeah, but they got some press by going on the Epic Store. Speaking of early access and stuff like that, the paying for early access is fine and dandy. And when you go forward with your game and you start adding content and updates and bug fixes and stuff that need to be done, optimization is always a big core issue with a lot of games, especially with older rigs like myself and a couple other folks I know.
Yeah,
when you pay for early access, you're taking a risk just like you are crowdfunding. Okay, because if the game depends on a business model where you need to make money even during early access to keep your studios open, buyer beware. Always. Buyer beware with that. Be careful what you put your money towards, especially early access. I cannot stress this enough because I've seen too many early access games get tanked and everybody's like, but I paid such and such for this. Nosgoth was one of them. Okay, the DC MOBA was another one.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing as just like it's you hit the nail on the head by saying it's crowdfunding. Like it 100% is. This company is essentially putting its faith in the people, saying, "Hey, we're going to give you this thing." They have no idea how it's going to turn out. They don't even know if halfway through they're going to say, "Hey, yeah, we tried doing that game and it was working great, but we decided to make this really integral tweak to it, putting it on a different engine that you may not be able to run, or throwing a completely different mechanic inside the game that completely changes the core mechanic." I want to say there was an RPG a while back that was being thrown up on Kickstarter and through early access, through, I want to say, Steam. It might have not been Steam. It might have been independent. But they ended up switching the whole thing where it was supposed to be like a third-person RPG hack and slash kind of a thing, and they changed the whole thing and turned it into like a first-person run and gun kind of a game, and everyone was just like, what the fuck happened? Like we paid for this, why are we not getting it? And it was like, oh, the thematics and blah 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 blah. It was a whole issue and fiasco.
Yeah, I mean that's a clusterfuck of epic proportions. That's just a company not having any managerial direction, which honestly, if Anthem, and I know I keep harping on it, I hate to do it, but it's such a good example of everything that can go epically wrong with a game. And, bad management can kill anything. Games that, have every chance of succeeding, any type of work environment, bad management, law enforcement gets people killed, bad arrest. There's so much bad management can touch and taint. It's like Cthulhu if he was like, fucking the dude from Office Space. It's like, yeah, I'm just a greater evil here. That'd be great. But yeah, crowdfunding is just a whole nother topic entirely.
Yeah.
And the bads with pre-ordering, tie into crowdfunding, because with the pre-order game, okay, we're going to get into the history bit of it a little bit, is pre-ordering originated, you know, 80s in the industry, you know, when games first started coming out, because they would print just enough pre-order copies as well as some retail copies. Like, okay, you know, hey, you have 5,000 pre-orders for this game, for example, we're going to give you another 1,000 copies. And the companies were like, well, why are we printing all these extra games that are selling? You know, let's focus on the pre-orders, and then, you know, not having enough copies at the game's launch will lead the customer dissatisfaction. Unfortunately, printing too much, this is where the past influences the future. The 1983 video game crash, okay? You don't want to produce in excess. You have the Atari video game burial, E.T., which I actually have a copy of. And then you had GameStop and Amazon come along, and the pre-order mechanism actually helped with, the price charts, the forecast, and also generate hype on certain games. It's like, oh, you know, you log in, and it's relevant in the ad-based services that you see on game sites. It's like, oh, hey, you know, I'm on this site, I've searched this game, and on your browser, you know, it's got the little section where it's like, oh, we'll feed them ads from that. You start seeing ads for games that you were looking for and all that stuff. And, you know, way to generate the hype. Then you're going to talk to your friends, and it's going to keep going, and you're hopefully going to talk to them in pre-order. You know, word of mouth is obviously one of the oldest and, in turns, best form of advertisement. That's how Warhammer gets all its business.
Yup.
And it was also, for the industry and the consumer themselves, it was an assurance to you as a consumer. It's like, here, I'm going to give you a little bit of money in advance, which is basically what layaway was, you know, but layaway was more for holidays. And I'll give you this little bit of money, save me a copy, and I'll be in to pick it up on launch day. But at the same time, retailers would take some of the pre-order money, you know, they'll use it as interest towards other projects that they want to do in the company. And as the game market grew, okay, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Halo 2, same three, okay, because they were around that time where pre-ordering was the most massive thing in the industry. You know, your fear was not being able to play with your buddies on Xbox Live. Your fear was not being able to play on PlayStation Online with your buddies, because the PlayStation 2, the PS3, and the Xbox 360, okay, originally when they launched, you couldn't really get the big name games like you could later on in the console's lifespan. I remember one of the first downloadable games that I got for my 360 was Smash TV, and Microsoft had this like stupid megabyte limit on their download size for their arcade and other things.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, you couldn't do that because Microsoft's like, yeah, you know, we don't have enough space on the console. We won't be doing that. And that was the first gen 360s, not the third gens, which had the hard drive where you could basically download 3-4 games and then wipe them off and rewrite it as you go.
That fat fucking bump on the top
Yeah.
of that stuff.
I did like the 360 because I could take off the faceplate and, you know, kind of put a skin on my Xbox.
There you go. See, I personally, I didn't have any consoles up until the point that I moved out where I am now. I grew up on, you know, the classic Super Nintendo, Nintendo stuff like that, and it wasn't I didn't have a PlayStation. I didn't have above a PlayStation 1, apart from a GameCube, I guess you could say, until I moved to Virginia. And fortunately, my wife at that time had a PS3, and I'd play on the PS3 with her and do different stuff like that. I remember the first downloadable game we got was Jericho, funny enough.
Oh, God.
I loved that game. I don't know why everyone hated it. I thought it was really good. I'm not a fan of console shooters. I'm not a fan of console shooters in general, but I thought it was pretty damn good.
Yeah, and progressing on through that, you know, when digital copies and digital distribution started to eke into the pre-order share, because you could basically be like, hey, I'm going to pay the full money up front straight to the retailer if you did the digital distribution method. Okay, with certain PC titles, you know, directly get a game code from them, or you would do it through Steam, which everybody knows Steam takes a certain percentage off the top of the sale.
30 on average.
Yeah, on average. So this made pre-orders need to basically get good and include other things with the games, art books, CDs, figurines, the game's characters, you know, they'd only be done in limited numbers. Blizzard was awesome with this, with their World of Warcraft collector's editions. The only one I've wanted to get my hands on this date for the stupid little icon is the Cataclysm one, so I can get my Worgen icon and my other Goblin icon for StarCraft 2. Then they progressed forward and they made deals with publishers to include certain content if you only pre-order that retailer, and then later on, like after the game had shipped, like 6 months down the road, oh hey, there's DLC. Wait, this looks familiar. Okay, this is like bait and switch territory because it's like, oh well, you know, I got that pre-order. Okay, you look cool for 6 months, dude. Nobody cares if you know you're wearing name brand or off-brand shoes for your dude on fucking the Division. All right.
You got them fucking Jordans.
Yeah. Nah, man. It'd be like, you know, hang on, dude, let me pump up. Okay, yeah, the middle combat and a firefight. And all of a sudden, all right, I'm aired up. Let's go, dog.
Oh god. I could see them doing it though. That's the sad part. Like I could see
Yeah, I know.
like especially with like how mainstream it's becoming too. How mainstream gaming is becoming in the foreground. You could see these companies doing stuff like this. You I bring this up as a terrible example, but like think about how many advertisers on average you get inside of any sports game. And no one really thinks about this. Oh, it's the stadium. They're replicating. No, they're not replicating the stadium. Those are direct ads that the companies have been paid for to be put inside there. Doritos, Mountain Dew, Geico, all these different companies. That, oh yeah, it's because the stadium looks like this. No, no, those ads change in the stadium and they change in those games all the time.
Yep. I remember other certain companies doing that with different video games. Some would actually use their own game to promote another game coming out.
Yeah.
Ubisoft was known for doing that.
Oh, Ubisoft, EA as well. Funny enough.
Yeah, but
Keep bringing
Ubisoft,
them up. Good reason too.
well, they've done all the scumbag tactics. Yep. Ubisoft is a company that's interesting because Ubisoft, overall,
Ubisoft just generates drama.
Yeah, they generate drama, and humorously enough, you know, they suffer franchise fatigue almost as bad as Activision does. Like, there's certain franchises they will pimp the ever living shit out of, like Assassin's Creed. Yeah. And it's funny, and I have to bring up this point. You think, you know, with a game called Assassin's Creed about a hidden order of assassins, one thing that always happens is that motherfucker gets leaked. You think a game about being an ultra secret assassin in today's society, it'd be a little more hush hush about the goddamn release date and what's going on in it. So, you know, the history progressing forward with pre-orders and stuff is now basically it's a scum practice, and I think it is actually hurting the industry because it's promoting the bad practices. Like, once again, Anthem's launch. Oh, well, EA comes out and it's like, oh, well, yeah, you can't really commit the release dates. They get pushed forward, moved back. No, dude, I've never seen a release date pushed forward. They always get pushed back because they suffer bugs. Anthem suffered from one thing, and that's not enough time in the oven. And several other games can attest to this, who are now either gone or they're about to be. WildStar was pushed out the gate too early. Okay. I think, and I might be the majority, Guild Wars 2 was a little bit pushed. NCSoft is notorious for killing MMOs and pushing them out early before they're ready. Luckily, ArenaNet recovered from that fumble pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, we can even discuss kind of the bigwig of all of it too. If you look at Blizzard, like Blizzard compared to what they were, compared to what they are now, Legion what just felt unfinished, and so did the newest one, the Battle for Azeroth. They feel unfinished when they first come out. Like there's not enough content, even in the beginning, for it to be something you're striving for. And this is coming from someone who played from vanilla up. Like it's just something that constantly feels underwhelming now, but felt so overwhelming back then. When you had, oh yeah, you know, within the first 2 weeks, the first three raids are going to be out. I say this as a matter of like touching on, you know, Wrath of the Lich King. I'll use as a prime example because that's pretty much the one that everyone remembers and was around for. And you've got, let's see, within the first 2 weeks of the game of Wrath coming out, you had all the dungeons available. You had Sartharian's Lair, Naxxramas, and there was another one. I can't think of the name. Vault of Archivon? No. Vault of Archivon came slightly later. That was in like the first month.
Violet Hole,
Violet Hall, that's the one. No.
the
Violet Hall was the
prison.
instance. That was an instance. That was just
That
an
was the.
instance back then. Yeah, that was when Inside Dollar on.
Yeah, it's Arthurian's Lair, the SAR 3D, and the Three Dragons.
Yeah, because you could have, and that's right. They had the multiple instances of being able to do them too. Plus, you also
Hmm.
had the fact that it was hard mode on those as well. You could do the 25 men or the 10 back then. So depending on the size of your guild and depending on the size of how many people were doing it, you had multiple things that you could do inside that game. And now, they do pre-order bonuses on these things, and you get them. You're just like, yeah, we're coming back for that authentic WoW experience that you told us we were going to have, and we come back to poorly done, awfully designed. Well, let me phrase that. The aesthetics of the game look great. I will never disrespect Blizzard's art team and Blizzard's development team when it comes to actually animating things. They look superb, not counting Worgens before anyone in the comment section goes off on them. But
Female Worgens
don't
are.
don't you start with me, damn it! I played one.
So female Worgens are what happened if Lady Gaga and a Chihuahua get into a fight and infect each other with a werewolf virus.
I won't say that.
Do they have a poker face though?
Jesus. But I mean, like, the word Blizzard polish means something, and it's an actually coined term nowadays. It's something when they do something, they're going to make it look great, but it doesn't mean it's going to play great. And that's I think one of the big things that caught us on this was, I mean, I know we both played BFA.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, we met in Legion. Like that's where we met at in the first place. And when we were playing BFA, we constantly came to this crux of we don't have anything to do. We find ourselves more just sitting around waiting and talking about wanting to do stuff than actually being able to do anything.
A lot of sites that I read described Battle for Azeroth as Legion 1.5, and I do feel that Blizzard made multiple articles before the release of Legion stating that they have multiple expansions, kind of like in a revolver, loaded one after another so they can rapid fire them. I think that actively was made by somebody in Activision. That design decision was influenced by Activision. I think if they keep on this route of rapid fire, basically they are forever going to keep their game in early access. Like when you played the original World of Warcraft, okay, and then Burning Crusade came out, it's like everything major you could do in Burning Crusade. There was a raid available upon launch. There was all these dungeons you could do. And then in Burning Crusade they patched things in. You had future raids patched in, a couple dungeons patched in. The Blood Elf dungeon where you fight Kael'thas at the end.
Oh yeah, Sunwell.
Magister's Terrorist or Sunwell
That
or
was the
whatever.
instance.
Yeah.
Magister Terrace was the instance. Sunwell was the raid where you fought. Oh no. You fight Kael'thas at the end of Tempest Keep. You fight uh, Kil'jaeden at the end of Sunwell.
Yeah. But that to me is something that's patch worthy. Okay.
Oh, 100%.
When I think of patch worthy now in my MMOs and patch worthy in anything I have done in the past 5 years of gaming, okay. One of which was with World of Warcraft was fixing bugs. Like all I saw with BFA was fixing this bug, fixing that bug. And I understand that if you fix one bug, you create 3 to 4 million more. That's just the way bug fixing works nowadays. But you look at a game like Storied History, like World of Warcraft. You look at other games with Storied History, EverQuest, etc., etc. Okay, EverQuest has a hardcore fan base because they've kept the same type of system that's punishing. World of Warcraft has changed with the times, has modernized itself, reinvented itself, and now it's kind of like the balding 40-year-old dude sitting there trying to be a hip, cool teenager, and trying, even though the dude's balding, trying to grow a man bun, is what it feels like to me.
You don't have to personally attack me. I'm only 28, damn it.
Oh, ouch.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. That's something that, like, I can think back to, receiving a content update. I wouldn't even touch on patching stuff, because I've always accounted those patches. Oh yeah, we have Tuesday maintenance. That's a patch. That's a patch that's going to come up. It's going to fix a bunch of bugs, play around with some of the numbers a little bit, and we'll be done from there. But like, the content that they release, and I don't know if this is just a matter of people are better now than they used to be, or they've gotten just sloppier. Because I remember the gap in Burning Crusade, the gap between the world first and the fact that people didn't clear an entire raid before the next one was released because it was too hard for them to beat. And I'm actually genuinely curious of whether or not that's going to be the case with Classics re-release. If they're going to dumb it down and make it easier for people, or if it actually is going to be this hard as hell dungeon experience or raid experience that we used to have in these 40 mans for doing Ragnaros and doing Naxxramas and things on those lines. Is it actually still going to be as hard, or were people back then just way too new to the game and unoptimized?
I think it was unoptimized and being new to the game because now the familiar progression system is tied in. If you look at Burning Crusade, okay, when I first got to level 70 with Burning Crusade, right? First thing you did, you dove into the dungeons, you got your dungeon set 1. Next thing you did is you did the hard modes of the dungeon, you got your dungeon set 2. Then you went into Karazhan, you got your tier 4. Which, as a hunter, a lot of people see you as a hunter and say, oh, that's a huntard.
No,
That's a
no.
huntard.
Everything in Karazhan was a hunter drop. Shut up.
But
these shoulders have intellect on them, yeah, but look at how much attack speed that gives me, though.
yeah, but focusing on the subject is
Sorry.
The way it was tiered out. And I'm not using that in a pun way. I know how it comes across, but the way the tiers of the gear and stuff was very carefully set. You can tell somebody went through this with a fine-tuned design document and did all this. That Blizzard polish was full bore there. StarCraft 2, StarCraft 1, you saw everything was very carefully designed, documented. Diablo 2. And then we get to Legion. You see from Warlords of Draenor where it looked like somebody drew it with crayon, the design document. Then you go into Legion, and while Legion wasn't, when it launched, yeah, it was very unfinished. And there was cases where it's like, okay, we can farm this, we can farm that. Legion finished very, very strongly. And it was, in my mind, out of the set of expansions, the last 3, it is the best one, bar none, out of those 3, which isn't saying much, but it brought back the talent tree in its own form, its own incarnation. And when a lot of people heard in Battle for Azeroth that, hey, we're getting artifact armor, I think people were picturing like, oh, hey, we wear Arthas' armor and it changes, styles, just like the weapon did, and we power up the armor. Blizzard's like, no dog, sorry man, it's a necklace. And the armor sets look very generic, the talents were very unrewarding. A lot of the problems have been talked about by everybody else, and Blizzard, I don't want to turn this into like an anti-Blizzard rant or, just focusing on that company, but Blizzard's pre-orders, it's usually a mount or something similar, and as a company, they're losing direction, which we're going to do in episode 2, the Fall of Empires. But going forward with pre-orders is, we've covered the pros. The cons is basically you support a scum-sucking company that's going to keep doing the same shit. The pros, you get your your content in your hand, you go home, and you wait 2 hours for the Xbox One, the PS4, the PC to install that shit because nothing is. Your instant gratification is not instant anymore. It still relies on download speed. Sorry, guys. And moving forward, with it wouldn't be a pre-order video without actually a couple games coming up that I want to bring to light. And a list has been so helpfully provided to me by veterans. Which, if you want to read those titles off, dude.
Yep. So we have a couple different games upcoming in release. This is just for the upcoming week. So this discusses basically up until like it's about the 23rd, although I can bring up a little bit more if need be. We've got a couple different ones inside of here that are releasing. A lot of them are remakes, so got a little bit of an idea of what they're going to be like. We've got a new or reboot of Sonic Team Racing, which is very iffy.
Iffy, but I will say this, the company behind it, Sumo Digital, I played both the other Sonic Racing games they had. And I can say without a doubt, they have nailed the kart racer. If Nintendo had any common sense, they would hire these guys for the next Mario Kart because they are some of the most fun racers I've ever played. I love the Sonic All-Stars Transformed. I love the other Sonic racing. And it's not because I'm a Sonic fanboy, it's because they were actually legitimately fun games. And for me, talking about pre-ordering, why it's good or bad, I wouldn't say pre-order unless I was buying for like children, and you think they're gonna like it, and chances are they probably will, especially if they like Mario Kart. They'll be a little disappointed at first. Oh, it's not Mario, but I think they'll get over it. I would pre-order if you have a large family of kids and stuff. You want to ensure that you have your copy on day one. This one, the company has a good track record, and I think it is worth your money.
I'll be completely upfront. I can't really judge on it either way, but given the stigma of Sonic games recently in general, I don't really think you have to worry about pre-ordering it. You're going to get a lot of copies just sitting on the shelf waiting because it has that stigma of just being a Sonic game.
Yeah, this is true. So, but if you're the type who likes to pre-order, honestly, with the company helming it, they've produced very good kart racers, and I think this will be more.
That being said, the next game on our list is most likely going to be a passover. So we discussed this and touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's a remake of Assassin's Creed 3 for the Switch. Assassin's Creed 3 remastered with Liberation, which was the DLC that came out for that game. I'm just going to give it a hard pass. I didn't like Assassin's Creed 3 in the first place. It's the one where you play as the Native American going through U.S. history. It's very mediocre.
Agreed. Never played it. It didn't really catch my eye. I've watched a Let's Play of it, honestly, and hard pass for me.
Yeah. The next one up on that one is going to be Observation. This is actually a new game out of Digital Revolver, or Devolver Studios, sorry, Devolver Studios. Devolver is actually pretty well known. They were the ones that did the Serious Sam remake, I believe Serious Sam 4. They've got a couple other games that they've worked hand in hand inside of, but solid company. Um, Touching it on a pre-order, this is one of those games that you kind of look at and just be like, this could be really good, or this could be Aliens Colonial Marines 2.0. And there's no real way of knowing because it almost fits the same motto. This is from what I saw of this game and the little bit of information that I was able to pull up for it so far. This is a game that takes place inside of the space station. And it seems like power goes out, what you would come to expect from a lot of these horror type spacey games. And it just kind of moves on forward.
We're gonna die.
I'm interested. I think this will be a game. It's not exactly up my alley. I love horror games. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of the traditional horror style game, especially the survival horror style game, which we'll touch on a little bit more coming up as well. Um, this one I think I'm going to hold off myself personally on and just wait to see how it pans out and maybe pick it up later on when it comes out a little bit cheaper. But I don't feel like I'll spend a $60 price tag on this one.
I'm gonna hard pass on it as well. Not simply because the company's track record or anything. It's just it's a horror game. It's gonna be plastered all over the place. Like,
I mean, shit,
chances
could the
are,
dolphins scare the shit out of you?
space doesn't scare me as much as being underwater. I don't know why. Probably because
It's the
like
same
space,
thing.
there's more. Yeah, but going underwater, it's not like deep space. Okay, yeah, I'm out in deep space. Underwater, oh god, giant squid. I'm getting tentacled to death.
Do we don't know if that's up there or not though. The ocean could just be a reflection of the sun of space.
Oh god, no, we're not doing this. All right, next three games.
With that, we'll continue on. This is actually 3 ports, which I personally will be saying yes to because I'm a fan of the system that they're going on to, and I'm a huge fan of the games. And I've actually played and beaten all 3 of these. We have Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil Classic, Resident Evil 4, and Resident
No,
Evil
it's the
0.
remake.
Oh,
It's the
it's the
remake.
GameCube version of it, yeah. It's a GameCube remake of it, but it's still Resident Evil 1.
Yeah, which the Resident Evil 1 remake. If you have not played it before, you're doing yourself a disservice. It is probably one of the best examples of Capcom remaking a game. It's, to me, they put every ounce of effort into it to update it, just like they did Resident Evil 2.
Yeah,
The new one, not the OG PlayStation 1.
which both are fantastic.
Yes.
But no, I've personally played all three of these. I haven't played them on the Switch yet. That's the console they're coming out for. They are being ported over to the Switch. Resident Evil 0 is the prequel to Resident Evil 1. It's how Resident Evil 1 started. Resident Evil 1 classic, everyone knows what that is. And then Resident Evil 4 is Leon Kennedy killing brainwashed Spaniards. That's always a
Yep.
fun time.
Yep. Resident Evil 3, these three games, 0 is the weak point in the series for these three particular games.
That's opinionated, but continue.
Opinionated, yes, but in general consensus, 0 is good, but out of the three awesome Resident Evil games, out of the three, it is the weakest in my opinion. But I would say do not pre-order if it is even available for pre-order, but if you see it on a game sale or you want to buy it new, it is a good use of your time and your money.
Definitely worth a pickup. Again, I wouldn't say pre-order, it's just not my thing, but definitely one that would be interested. I'd be interested in picking up, and probably will end up picking up all three of them. Next up on this one is everybody's Golf VR for the PlayStation 4. I don't play mini golf games, and I don't own PlayStation VR, so skip.
Wait, it's a mini golf game?
I mean, it could be mini golf, it could be regular golf. I'm not sure.
We didn't do our homework on this one, did we? This one skated right by me.
Yeah, a little bit. I won't deny that either. Let me get it pulled up real quick. It is. Wait, is that a remake of the Japanese Mina no Golf? It is. Oh my god. So this is a virtual reality edition of Everybody's Golf, or what's called Mina no Golf in Japan, which has been going since the 1990s. Holy crap.
Okay, so it's a VR version of a game that's technically a remake. Okay.
Yeah, in particular,
I would say wait and see on this, simply because
it is a wait
VR
and
tech.
see. It is a wait and see because of VR. But for anyone who has not played Everybody's Golf, definitely worth. It's kind of like the cartoony kind of golf sort of a game. It's not what you'd see out of like the mini golf games that come out nowadays for like Steam and stuff like that. This is a lot more of like the older style golf games in general, but definitely still a relatively fun game.
Progressing on to the last item in our current list.
Yep,
this is just the major titles in May that are of note. Is Total War 3 Kingdoms.
I'm gonna let you take that one because I don't really play RTSs anymore. So.
Okay, so Total War series, solid series by Sega, in an age where Sega is messing up royally, or did mess up royally. I don't know.
Sonic,
played
what happened to you?
Oh God, the Sonic movie. Why does it look so bad?
Well, they're remaking him. They're remaking him. Jim Carrey's carrying
It's gonna be worse.
Back. No, I doubt it's gonna be worse.
So anyway, Total War series. There has not been a weak entry in the Total War series. The battles are fantastic. The Total War Warhammer series is extremely well done RTS. The Three Kingdoms one, I don't see the reason why it wouldn't be different. Pre-order, no, because these games usually have, some patching sometimes. It's hit or miss. I would wait and see the review before buying into it, especially if you're a fan of the series. There's always that off chance that they could really, really fuck it up. I don't think they will, because considering how long the series has been going, to me, I will get it on sale. I won't get it new, or at least I won't get it new until I see the reviews on it.
I mean, it is a pretty prolific series, and the fans of Total War, I've got quite a few of them. They're gung ho about this, and they can't wait for it to come out. Personally, I mentioned it before. I'm not much of an RTS player. I don't keep up with it anymore. I used to play StarCraft way back in the day, but now it's way over my head. The amount of speed and micro and macro that goes in that game, just way over my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I play single player. I don't get crushed on multiplayer. I think for, shameless plug, what I would want from a Total War series would be like a Total War BattleTech or MechWarrior.
I could see that, yeah. Wouldn't be
Yeah,
bad at all.
just the infantry, the power armor, the tanks, and then finally, like, oh hey, here's the mechs. I think it would work well in the Total War environment. But anyway, that's shameless plug over.
I mean, that being the case, it seems like this is, I mean, this is what we were initially talking about when we had initially planned for this one, so it seems like any good place to cut it off. We're just about 45-ish minutes, so shouldn't be any problem being able to cut it here.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned in the future for more updates, more episodes. We're going to try and make it a weekly thing. If not, we'll post a short video letting you know that, hey, it's been delayed by a week, but it will be either weekly or semi-weekly. Or, I'm sorry, semi-bi-weekly.
That being the case, guys, thank you very much for joining us. I do greatly appreciate it, as does Lyconis. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to drop a comment in the bottom. If you want to follow us, follow us. I hope you have a great day.